I had just walked in after a long, exhausting day when she said it casually, almost carelessly, like she was commenting on the weather. Sarah sat on the edge of the couch, phone in hand, legs crossed, completely at ease. I loosened my tie as I entered, and before I could even say hello, she dropped the words like a stone into calm water. "I'm going on a date with my colleague on Friday. It's not cheating." For a moment, the sentence didn't register. The words hung between us, absurd, impossible, unreal. It felt as if the world had been muted. No sound, no movement, just her voice echoing in my head. I stared at her, scanning her face, waiting for the smirk, the laugh, the "just kidding." But she didn't blink. She didn't hesitate. She meant it. My pulse thudded in my neck, yet outwardly I stayed still, frozen like a man struck by a wave he never saw coming. She kept scrolling, untouched by the destruction she had just caused. Finally, she glanced up with that familiar, dismissive shrug she used whenever she wanted to dodge responsibility. "Don't overreact," she said. "He's just a friend. And besides," her tone softened, her eyes narrowing with something between defiance and indifference, "I need to feel appreciated again." Something inside me fractured, not loudly or dramatically, but quietly, like the first crack in ice before an entire lake gives way. I walked to the chair across from her and sat down slowly. My hands felt heavy, my chest tight, but my voice stayed steady. "So this friend of yours," I asked calmly, "did he tell you he appreciates you?" She looked startled. She had expected yelling, not this controlled stillness. Her jaw tightened, and for just a second, guilt flickered across her face. Then she straightened, lifting her chin. "At least he listens," she said. "He notices things you don't." She thought those words would crush me, silence me, drive me into a corner. Instead, something shifted. A deep, deliberate calm settled over me, like stepping out of a storm into clear air. I leaned back, studying her with new eyes, eyes no longer clouded by love, denial, or the hope she would return to the woman I married. "Okay," I said at last. Just one word. Her brows drew together in confusion. She hadn't expected acceptance. She'd expected a fight she could win, a scene she could rewrite in her favor. I watched her expression change, from puzzled to irritated, then uncertain. She blinked rapidly, unable to hide it. "What do you mean, okay?" she demanded. I didn't answer right away. I let the silence stretch through the room, forcing her to sit with it. Then I stood and walked toward the hallway closet. She sat up straighter, watching me closely. She thought I was packing a bag or preparing some dramatic exit she could label as crazy. Instead, I pulled out a small box I had hidden for months, one she never knew existed. Her eyes widened the moment she recognized it, because she knew what it was, just not why I had it. Her confusion sharpened as I placed the box on the coffee table. "Before you go on that date," I said quietly, "you should know what I found last month." Her face drained of color. She stared at the box as if it were ticking, as if touching it might set off something she'd buried deep. Her voice trembled as she whispered, What is that?" I didn't answer. I opened the lid. Inside were printed screenshots, messages she believed were gone forever, late-night conversations with the same colleague she now called just a friend, voice notes that weren't innocent, and photos she had sworn she never took. Her hands flew to her mouth, her body went rigid. For the first time in a long while, her mask, her confidence, sarcasm, and bravado collapsed completely. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. I I can explain." I raised a hand, not in anger, not in rage, in finality. "You don't need to explain," I said calmly. "You made everything clear tonight. You weren't asking permission to cheat. You were telling me you already had." She flinched as if struck, tears pooling in her eyes. But it was too late. The truth was no longer hiding in shadows. It sat between us on the table, exposed, undeniable, and irreversible. For years, she relied on my silence, my patience, my loyalty, believing I would always bend, always absorb the pain, always forgive. But tonight, she pushed every boundary until it collapsed under its own weight. And now she was standing face to face with a version of me she had never prepared for. The man who finally saw the truth without the haze of hope. She reached toward me with a shaking hand, but I stepped back, leaving her grasping at nothing. That small movement, that quiet withdrawal, broke her more deeply than any shout ever could. After a long pause, I spoke. I'm not stopping you. Go on your date. Go feel appreciated. Go chase whatever you think you're missing. Just understand. My voice dropped colder than she had ever heard it. When you walk out that door on Friday, you won't be coming back to this home as my wife. She went completely still. The air left her lungs in a sharp gasp. Her head shook as tears streamed down her face, her earlier confidence shattering into raw panic. No, no, please. I didn't mean it like that. I wasn't. Please don't say that. But I had already said it, and I meant every word. The truth was, she didn't destroy our marriage on Friday. She destroyed it with every lie, every erased message, every late-night call, every moment she convinced herself that disrespect wasn't betrayal as long as she renamed it. Friday was simply when the consequences arrived. And as she sat there trembling, staring at the box of evidence, the graveyard of our marriage, she finally felt the full weight of her choices. That night, she learned that betrayal doesn't always erupt in chaos. Sometimes it collapses quietly, like a building whose foundation had been crumbling long before the cracks appeared. As I walked past her toward the bedroom, one truth settled into the room like a cold winter wind. She expected a fight. Instead, she reached the end.